I'm Gab. He's Stewart Robson. That's right. Jules on a well-earned holiday.
Another holiday.
Well, you know what? The guy grinds. He's entitled to his time off. It's blue skies over West London. It's blue skies over Madrid because that was a resounding victory in the Classico. That's gonna be our main item. But Robbo, there's so much else going on. There's Napoli bouncing back with a big win over Inter. Definitely needed to. And what happens in the Premiership? Liverpool lose, Manchester City lose, Chelsea lose.
Is it Arsenal's title already?
That would excite you. That would excite you. And Manchester United win, almost as remarkable than anymore.
I'm in the table as well.
But let's get into the Clasico here because I thought this was a statement win from Real Madrid. It was a comprehensive win.
Yep.
There is so many of the negatives I thought that we saw in the win over Juventus in midweek in terms of people working, people running. It all went out the window. Boom, Bellingham and with Camavinga in midfield and Guler too. And I thought they absolutely, notwithstanding the fact it was 2-1 at halftime, I thought they absolutely crushed Barcelona in the first half.
Yeah, because every time they won the ball back in good areas, every time they broke forward, they'd obviously done a lot of work on how to break down Barcelona's high line. And they did it on numerous occasions. They also had a couple of situations that were disallowed. But overall, they had the energy that they don't always have. They had the drive going forward, which they don't always have. And they got the ball forward quicker, which they don't always do. So it was a good performance. And you have to give credit to Xavi Alonso, but you also have to give credit to the players that were out there.
On the Barcelona side, what was lacking for me most notably, and in that first half, obviously, there was... They actually had like 64% possession. It's a lot of sterile possession. Fermin Lopez's goal comes because Guler gives the ball away. That certainly wasn't part of the shtick. And I looked at it, and you always associate Barcelona with creativity. Other than Pedri, there was almost none because Lamine Yamal half fit, Rafinha, Dani Olmo, and even Gavi, who often gets forgotten, unavailable. Was that the difference? Was that what stopped them? They could have played through Real Madrid much better.
Yeah, I see nearly every Barcelona game over the last couple of years. And when they're playing at their very best, they play with pace. They've got, Yamal, who can go past people, can create opportunities out of nothing. He didn't do that. I think Carreras did quite well, but he was also doubled up. Guler got out with Carreras and stopped him going past his man on numerous occasions. Rashford... For all people are saying he's having a good season and he's rebuilt himself at Barcelona, he hasn't got the same movement as Rafinha has. Rafinha, when Barcelona were playing well, makes run after run after run from outside to in and causes problems for the opposition's backline. So the backline then have to drop off and it leaves more space for De Jong and Pedri to pick their passes and Dani Olmo when he's playing in that role. For me, that does okay and he did quite well on a couple of occasions. But overall, they were too slow in their build-up,
And that's because you don't have the creative, high technique players. Because I love Fermin Lopez, but he's not that sort of player.
Yeah.
Neither is Marcus Rashford for that matter.
And Ferran Torres, for all his pace and movement at times off the ball, he hasn't quite got the cleverness that Lewandowski has shown over the last years. Lewandowski's linked up a lot of the play for Barcelona, which people don't talk about. They talk about his goals, but there's lots of times the ball's played into him and he's playing little 1-2s with the players coming on, Dani Olmo or Rafinha or Yamal. So yes, it's... I was a bit disappointed in Barcelona all over the pitch.
Barcelona disappointed too because for the first time, Real Madrid's win breaks a streak of 4 Barcelona victories in the Clasico. That is a big deal in the context of Spain. We saw what happened at the end, the melee, the intensity. This felt like a throwback, not quite to the same level, to the great Mourinho versus Pep battles of the kind of early 2010s in terms of not the same level of venom, but we're close to it. Some of this was instigated, I think, by Dani Carvajal and Lamine Yamal and Vinicius as well, responding to comments Lamine Yamal made with Ibayanos before the game, saying Real Madrid cheat and will continue and complain. That's what they do.
Lamine Yamal is a wonderful player, but he's got to be more sensible. Somebody's got to guide him with what he's saying before games and after games, because this has been a case for a little while. He said some things that aren't going to endear himself to the opposition, aren't going to endear himself to... He's a great player. Be a great player. Don't get yourself involved in all these other antics.
Messaging, I think, really, really matters. I blame the club here as much as Yamal.
Yeah.
You have to be able to control it. There are ways, if you want to get this point across because you believe it and you decide you want to get across, I'm okay with it, kind of Machiavellian. But this was not the messenger. This was not the context. This was not the time to do it. This Yamal situation, I'm not blaming him.
No.
But obviously, no, he's actually, you know what? I am blaming him because he's 18. Like, you're an adult. But above all, I think there has to be a club that looks after the club assets.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation before, first on the physical side. I've had it before with Don Hutchinson. And the fact that, you know, surely they have club doctors, sports scientists. At 18, he's played a ton of football. Everybody remembers what happened with Ansu Fati.
Yep.
This idea, and you were in the first team at 18 yourself, right?
Well, 17. I was just 17 when I got in the team.
Just 17. There you go. Yamal had you beat by a year. There you go.
Yeah, by a year, yeah.
But this idea that, like, too much too soon, growing bodies, blah, blah, blah. Now, he's carried everything in stride.
Brilliantly, yeah.
But when I look at his groin issues, I look at the way this Ibayanos interview, and I'm wondering, should Barcelona be taking better care of him? Like, could they pay a hefty price for this?
They could do. I mean, young players have to be monitored. They have to be monitored physically, but also mentally. You know, one of the biggest issues about playing week in, week out at such a young age is the mental strain it takes on you. You know, you've got to prepare yourself every week or twice a week to play massive games. And now you're the star of the team, so everybody expects you to play well. When you don't play well, you're going to get criticism. They're going to come to you for the interviews. And that's where I think they should also be protecting him. You want him to be like Lionel Messi was at Barcelona, where he didn't really come out with too much in the press. He was just thought of as a great player. And
he's a mute Messi.
Yeah,
but he also didn't play anywhere near as much at the same age. Neither did Cristiano.
Yeah. So they've got to try and monitor what he says to the press. They've got to try and protect him. They know that people are now know they can get things out of him that can cause problems, and it'd be big news. So, yeah, I just think the club need to protect him both physically, but even more so mentally.
So on the mental side and his comments, here you have a young man who's a superstar for Spain as well.
Yeah.
You know, arguably Spain's most important player until Rodri returns, or certainly up there. Now you have a situation where he's come out publicly and he said, oh, like, I'm assuming like 30, 35%, if not 40% of fans in Spain, of Spain are Real Madrid fans too.
Yeah.
So you're already setting yourself up. There's a World Cup coming in the summer, and you've just told 35 to 40% that their team that they support are cheaters. That's got to be a strain, and it's not purely Barcelona issue, right?
Again, you're under, as a young player, probably could go on to become the world's greatest player. You're putting yourself under enough pressure, being in that position, that you've got to perform week in, week out for your club and for your Spain. Don't let yourself be put under even more pressure and under more scrutiny by saying the wrong things in the press. And that, again, comes down to the club. Just have someone with him to say, come on, let's just move away from this one. Or we can offer another player to you this week. But he wants to get involved.
Well, this is the context, right? Ibayanos is a huge star in Spain. He's one of the biggest streamers in the world. I don't think Ibai's a bad guy. And, you know, journalistically, maybe that's a question that's worth asking. But you can't, if you're Barcelona, you can't let him go and answer it in the way he did. And even if you think it's true, right? If you think it's true, if you want to get into the Machiavellian world that we saw with Mourinho, Guardiola, I can live with that because your goal is to win the league. But this is not the messenger, right? You do it with a senior player. You do it in a certain way. You do it at a certain time. You don't go and troll the opposition just before Clasico in this way. You know, it's one thing when Mourinho says, you know, before a big game, like, well, this referee doesn't like us. Let's hope he's fair. You're trying to get into his head, whatever. There's a strategy behind it, which you can agree with or disagree with. I mean, Real Madrid TV, they do the same thing, right? Week in, week out, right? But there's a plan there. This seemed totally unplanned. It seemed totally unnecessary. And I think the upshot is however strong mentally he is, and obviously mentally he's a beast, he's still 18 years old, and this is a completely unnecessary situation to be in, and he had his national team teammate, Dani Carvajal, going and giving it to him at the end.
So the thing,
not to mention Vini, but Vini is his own.
A little while ago, when he was playing away from home, Lamine Yamal, the crowd applauded him, stood up and applauded him because they were shocked by how good he was. If you keep saying things in the press, being derogatory about the opposition, you're not going to be applauded anymore. You're not going to be seen as this wonder kid. You're going to be seen as the enemy. And they're going to have more and more pressure on them. They're going to be more booing and whistling. The opposition will then start kicking more and all that sort of thing. Just stay away from it. Just show what a great player you are.
While we're on the issue of the enemy, let's go from one guy who could have won the Ballon d'Or last year to the person who thought he'd won the Ballon d'Or 2 years ago, Vinicius. Now, it's not so much that he says derogatory things, but obviously a lot of people take issue with the way he plays. And obviously he has also suffered. He gets singled out for racist abuse. And hasn't happened in public this year, but obviously it's happened in the past. He's obviously a guy who's a bundle of nerves. And he has, I don't want to say he has issues, but when I saw him get angry, and I thought he played really well.
He did play well, yeah.
And I think he has shown, and I'm hoping if I'm Vinicius, if I'm a Real Madrid fan, I'm going to look at this and say, you know what? You're responding very, very well to this situation on the pitch, in the sense that, let's face it, over the summer, issues with Mbappe, perception, but not just a perception, it's a reality that it's really difficult to carry Vini and Mbappe because you have two guys who don't work defensively, or that was what we said last season. Not as central to the project as he was, as they like to say. Maybe if Saudi comes along, we'd consider it. He's taken all this on board, and he has responded on the pitch. He's responded with some really big performances. And so I can understand when he came off and he reacts that way to being substituted. I can see where that comes from. We'd be talking about that if Real Madrid had dropped points, though.
Yeah. I've watched most of Real Madrid's games over the last 3 years. And if I was the opposition, I'd approach Vinny Jr. totally differently to how some of them do it. When does he play at his best? Vinny Jr. plays at his best when he's wound up, being abused, being kicked. That's when he has more effect on the game. It stirs him up. If I was playing against Vinny Jr.,
you just dial it down.
I'd say dial it right down. I'd almost say to the crowd, don't get onto his back. Ignore him. And if you found him, pick him up and I'm really sorry, a great bit of skill that was, you're beaten by a bit of skill. Because he actually tones everything right down and doesn't play with anywhere near the same fire and ability than he does when he's angry. So sometimes being angry makes him play better.
Yeah, and I wonder if, he didn't feel a little bit slighted because Real Madrid, this season it's been about Mbappe, it's been about the new signings, it's been about Arda Güler. And maybe this has helped motivate him. But I thought he deserves credit. I thought he made a huge contribution to this game. In Real Madrid also, we got to move on to Bellingham and make a call here because, as you know, I've been championing Bellingham in midfield for a long time. I think I have no issue whatsoever with Xabi Alonso kind of redrawing the team to accommodate Bellingham and, dropping Mastantuono for a more solid approach in this game. And I thought Bellingham responded really well and made the position known. But you feel Bellingham's still not fit?
No, he's not fit, not fully fit. When I saw him, I went to Dortmund 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, that was a different Bellingham. Oh, 2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago. I went to watch him play, and I hadn't seen him live very often. I've seen him on the TV, highlights obviously. And and it was the perfect midfield performance. He was playing central midfield alongside Emre Can.
Right.
And he ran up and down. He got on the ball, picked passes out. He went past people. He scored a goal. I came away saying that is the all-round midfield performance. And that's what he was. When he was playing for England at the World Cup, he played in central midfield. And he was just one or two with another player alongside him. And that's what his job was. He's a midfield player. That's what he did at Birmingham. Because he played as the number 10 and almost sometimes a withdrawn centre forward in his first season, scored all those goals for Real Madrid.
By necessity,
he suddenly says, well, that's what I am. Well, no, you're still a midfield player. You're a midfield player that's been forced into playing the attacking role. Yeah. Really, you're a central midfield player. And when I see him play at the moment, that player I saw at Dortmund, that player I saw in the first season, he's got great energy, but he's also got a burst of pace. He's strong. I'm seeing him as a one-pace player at the moment. Yes, he did brilliantly for the goal. Yes, he scored a goal as well. But he looks as though everything's a struggle. He's chasing balls at half pace, and he just about gets there. Then it takes him an age to get back up. He doesn't always run back.
So you're saying it's a fitness issue? It's not a willingness issue.
No, I think it's a fitness issue.
Okay,
I'd love to know what the sports scientists are doing with him, and if they run tests on him and say, "This is where you were 2 years ago, or when you first came to the club. This is where you are now. We've got to get back to that fitness level there."
Well, if it's a fitness issue rather than a willingness issue, I think that's a huge step forward. That's a real breakthrough for Xabi Alonso. Because I'm not playing in midfield. Because I think it's pretty obvious that in Carlo Ancelotti's last year, I think Bellingham was not looking forward to playing in midfield, did not want to play there. You had to kind of beg him to go and play. Oh, you go wide, show him tapes of Zidane, say, "Oh, look, this is what Zidane did off the ball," and then, and you could be like him. So if he's willing to embrace that role, then suddenly I think this Real Madrid midfield, you still might have a bit of a numbers issue in the sense that Tchouaméni has to be there, or Camavinga. Valverde at some point is going to want to be back in midfield when the right backs are fit, if they're ever fit. And then obviously you've got Arda Güler. So maybe then you have to look at playing 4-4-2 or whatever. But, I mean, that is a huge plus if you get him fit.
What I'd like to know in this game, I'm obviously watching the game, and he starts out and I think, Bellingham's playing on the right-hand side of a midfield four. Fairly narrow, but he's the furthest player on the right-hand side. He then creates the goal for Mbappe, and I'm looking at the game. Why is Mbappe now coming to the middle and Camavinga, a left-footed player, has gone to the right-hand side? Maybe it was to stop Balde getting forward, I don't know. But who made that decision? The coach? Or did Bellingham say, "I'm not playing out there," and said to Camavinga, "You get out there, I'm going to be more central"? That would be the question I was...
You're being extremely naughty there, Bobo, alleging that Bellingham just decided...
I did. I said I would like to know who made the decision.
I am fairly confident that it's a call Xabi Alonso made. I am very confident in this. I'd be very surprised.
And the only reason I can think he did it was to have Camavinga, their most athletic player in midfield in terms of pace and energy, was to stop Balde getting forward down the left-hand side.
Stop Balde getting forward, and you've got him coming inside on his left foot. So I'm assuming it's...
Yes, I'm hoping that's the case.
We're going to talk about Barcelona's defense. We talked about the struggles. Look, but I want to talk about the penalty first, because I don't understand how this is even a discussion about the handball. If you watch La Liga in the last 2 years, yes, it ricochets off the Real Madrid player. It makes no difference. His arm isn't where it needs to be. Had it ricocheted, had he gone in to slide it, had he gotten the ball and it had come off, had it ricocheted off his leg onto his arm, then you may have a case. But in this case, Eric Garcia, your arm's not supposed to be there. These penalties get called, and especially in Spain.
The trouble is, the more you talk about the laws of the game and interpreting the laws of the game, it becomes more and more what the referee thinks. Because we all look at penalties differently. We all look at handballs differently. Everybody, if you listen to a commentary, everybody will say different things. I look at it, could it be avoided? Has it stopped an advantage? It might have stopped an advantage. I could see both sides of the argument. So I'm going to sit on the fence on this one. But I can certainly see your argument. I can certainly see the ESPN commentators and what they were saying about it.
Yeah, I disagree with them. Because there's this is the way it's been officiated in Spain. Right? Yeah. What you want above all is consistency.
You'll never ever get consistency with the laws of English of football, because
I almost said English.
Of football, because there's certain foul. When I see, they say, "Oh, there's a touch on him there," or "That's the hand." It's up to you what you think, and there's too many laws that can be interpreted in totally different ways.
All right, so about the Barcelona defense. Actually, before we do the going back to the discipline thing, let's remind everybody: Flick wasn't there; he was up in the stands. Yep. I think it's harder to lay down the law with discipline when you yourself are picking up second yellows for no apparent reason. So that's just something That's on Flick. When it comes to defense, when Barcelona concede drop points like clockwork, oh, it's a high line. Oh, stupid high line. I'm sick of this. He plays this way. He's won a treble playing this way. They've had a lot of success. He doesn't do it because he wants to lose or make things difficult for the opposition. He does it because it's his credo, and it's brought him a ton of success. And as long as the front men are putting pressure on the ball, then the high line gives you results. However, there's going to be times when the front men aren't putting pressure on the ball, possibly because one of them is Marcus Rashford and another one, Lamine Yamal, is half fit or whatever. And then at some point, because the other element, if you play the high line, is how you execute. And I think there's a quality issue there. If I have outstanding center backs who are freak athletes and read the game perfectly well, then I can get away with not executing it perfectly, right?
Yep.
Eric Garcia is not that.
Certainly not.
Pau Cubarsí, maybe he can become one of the great Barcelona defenders. He certainly was outstanding when he was very young. I don't think he's having the best of seasons.
No.
And I think it's a ton of pressure piled on him. Losing Inigo Martinez and not replacing him and devoting those resources to Marcus Rashford was just an absolutely demented decision by the club. And if I were Hansi Flick, I would go and knock heads about this. There's no way out. And what happens when one of these guys gets hurt? How do you solve this?
Well, Hansi Flick, I was in Germany last week, and we were talking about Hansi Flick to some of the German people, the people that played under him, and they said the one problem he's got is that he's stubborn. He wants to play this way, and it's got to be that way or no way at all. Now, if you play a high line, there's still times when you have to read the danger and think, I can't play the high line now, I've got to drop off. And that's where the players are making mistakes. And that's where Hansi Flick's making. And I'll give you an example. The goal. You talk about pressure on the ball. Bellingham was going back towards his own goal or going towards the touchline. The player tries to close him down, and Bellingham produces a good turn and now buys himself space. Now, as soon as he buys himself space, Cubarsí should be thinking, I can't squeeze up now because he's got time on the ball. And Mbappe is a couple of yards short of me, and he's going to run in behind, and there's space in behind. I've got to back off and say, you can't play that ball. But it seems to me as though even when it's obvious they have to drop off, they still try and squeeze.
Yeah, but I'm sure Hansi Flick doesn't say, hey, guys.
I think he does. That's what the people, they say he's stubborn. He'll say, do it more and more.
All right, then if you want to do that, I go back to what I said. You can do it if you have monster center backs who, despite this, are so fast that they're going to recover, or they'll make decisions independently, or they're going to angle the runs. In other words, that are better than these two guys. I mean, I'm sorry, with all the love in the world for Eric Garcia, he's a good professional, whatever.
He's not good enough.
He's not
I've
good
always
enough.
said he's not good enough.
The other guy's 18 years old. And look who's on the bench. Christensen, who's always injured, always got issues and nothing to write home about. Araujo, who's they've been trying to ditch for the last 18 months, and now is their backup emergency center forward. How do you go into a season like this? I just don't understand this.
The problem is, Gab, and Hansi Flick has had this issue, he had it with the German team as well. For the first year, and when he was at Bayern Munich, he won the treble. The first year, other teams are surprised by it, and they don't know quite how to cope with it, and they keep running offside. Right. Now, in the second year, as it was with the German national team, say, I tell you what, they're going to squeeze up. And it's so easy to play against them, to get balls in behind and to make runs. So teams, I think you heard it in the commentary, whoever was talking obviously knew Xavi Alonso. All week, they've been working at ways of breaking down the offside line. So teams are working it. Even the worst teams in La Liga are in 1v1s against the goalkeeper. That cannot be the case if you're a top team.
So do you ditch your high line, or do you
Do
you spend some money on defenders in January?
And you work harder at the right time. It's flawed. The system is flawed because they're coming up at the wrong times now. They've got to make sure that they work hard. When nobody's in contact with the ball, you can still be coming up. So if the ball's played from there to there,
of course.
While that ball's travelling, you can come up. As soon as that bloke is about to get on the ball, because he might play that ball first time in behind you, you drop. Only has to be 2 yards. You're ready for the ball played over the top. The forwards are coming back to get onside as you're go up, and now it looks easy. They're getting the timing completely wrong, and that's because they obviously aren't working hard enough at it in the training sessions.
And of course, it's hard to work on anything on training sessions during the season because you've got 2 games a week or 3 games a week, and you maybe have 1 or 2 full training sessions during the week. There you go. So, yeah, plenty for Flick to think about.
Oh dear, yeah.